All right. So I am attempting to talk about pre-empty nesters today. So I am actually Nubia of Nubian Queen Nation podcast and Nubian Queen TV and Nubian Queen 04 on YouTube. And it's been a little bit. I've been trying to figure out, well, what are some topics that I want to talk about in 2023. And the one that comes up most for me right now is becoming a pre-empty nester. So if this is your first time visiting me here, just sit tight for a little bit. This will be a quick one. So I'm a mom of 4 children. They are all adults. The 3 girls are adults, and then my son is he's a teenager. He's 16. But I've just recently been dealing with the thoughts of becoming an empty nester. Um, my friends around me, most of them have been empty nesters for maybe 10, 15 years already. But my husband and I had been married for 35 years. And we, the oldest is, 27. I didn't like it when my mother used to tell how old I was. But the oldest one is 27, a girl. And the second daughter is 25. Third daughter is 22. She'll be having a birthday soon. And then there's my son who's homeschooled. They all were homeschooled from like pre-K to like 10th grade. And then they went to 11th grade to a multicultural, well, it was a college, community college that um, they could get their high school diploma and get some college credits at the same time. So actually with my son, I've been asking him what he'd like to do as far as continue on with schooling at home, or I really wanted him to go to tech school. I thought that would be a good choice for him. His dad was really good with working with cars, and then went into the Air Force working on jets, and then retired from the Air Force. And I thought that would be a really good thing for my son because he really, really likes cars, loves cars. But it's his choice. But anyway, we did go to visit I am starting with the backstory. Um, we did go to a technical school for a tour, my husband and I and my son. I was so excited for him. And this was just before the pandemic, actually. It was December 2019, I believe. And after the tour, I was like, well, what do you think? He's like, nah. I was like, well, think about it. And he, decided that that wasn't for him. He didn't want to do it. And you know what? I just want to chalk all that up to the Holy Spirit because going right into 2020, the pandemic happened and a lot of the schools shut down, everything shut down. So funny story about that is when his friends even started to come home for the pandemic because they closed the schools down. He said, "Hey mom, do I have school tomorrow?" I'm like, "Boy, you homeschool. What you talking about? There's no break." So you continue going on and you continue doing school. There's no break when there's the pandemic, especially when you're homeschooled. So that's my children. So now here we are, 3 years later, 2023, and my oldest one just moved out. Now she was a preschool teacher first, and because her degree was in criminal justice, 2-year degree, and she went to teach preschool. I'm like, that coming to find out that preschool, her going to school for criminal justice actually helped out with dealing with some of the parents for preschool. Nowadays, it's just crazy. But she eventually decided to go Army National Guard and went to Poland during the Ukraine situation. So she came home safely. I did have a lot of moms ask me, "Hey, were you nervous?" I said, "No, I served during Desert Storm. I knew that the Lord was going to bring her back safely, all in one piece. So she appears to be just fine. And now she works as an EMT at an emergency unit hospital here in New England. And then my second daughter just left for Korea. So I think that the funny thing is the whole time, even though I'm excited about becoming an empty nester whenever that happens, um, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be so excited. I might, do a couple flips and some, cartwheels and things like that. And then, run around the house singing. I talked a whole bunch of smack, but and my third daughter is also a college student in the DC area. And my son is, again, he's still homeschooled. He's here. So after talking all that smack, we all got together, drove my daughter to JFK the other day, And she had all this luggage, and I'm like, super strong. Because I remember my parents dropping me off at JFK for my basic training to go into the Air Force, and it's almost like they didn't even look back. Of course, that was many, many years ago, and I'm sure that they did look back. But we got there, and I kept watching her because, for one thing, she had so much luggage that, it was like $600 worth of luggage. I mean, she probably won't even listen to this podcast, but it's the truth anyhow. And I kept watching her, and she kept looking. She pulled out her phone as she was standing there, and they were weighing each one of her bags. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's getting ready to text us. She's getting ready to text us. And sure enough, she was like telling me that was like $200 per bag. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so, we were able to assist her a bit. We grabbed some credit cards. I'm like, okay, can you put 50 cents on this one, and then put $1.20 on this one? I mean, it wasn't quite like that. I'm exaggerating. But anyway, so we eventually got her off, and her luggage was on the little trolley thing going down towards the plane. And she was able to come back over and give us a hug, because we left New England at 1 o'clock in the morning. And by the time we left the airport, it was like close to 4:30, or probably even close to 5. And they started to board at 6 for her 7 o'clock plane. And then, one person started crying, and then the next person started crying. So next thing you know, all 3 of my girls are crying. And my son and I are looking at each other. And my husband, he had a little, teardrop there. And I don't know, for some reason at that moment, I just could not, maybe I was trying to be the mom and be strong for everybody else, even though that wasn't my first thought. I was just like, oh, let's just keep it all together. And I'm happy for you. I'm really excited. I tell you what, that next night, man, I was sitting in the car, and my son, I dropped him off to a function that he was in. And I sat in the car, and I just started crying. I just could not stop crying. I was like, the thought of the fact that my oldest daughter moved out and she has her own apartment. The second daughter was on her way to Korea. And then my third daughter was, on her way back to school. I was like, it's just going to be my husband, myself, and my son. And for the first time in my life, I'm like, wow, I've never really, this is just, it's always been about my kids. It's for the last 20 something years of my marriage. I've been married 35 years. And even today, sitting at home, I dropped off my son to his job, and I was home for 4 hours by myself. And I'm like, this is really, really strange. And I know that I have, like I said, other friends that are out there that have been, empty nesters for a while. So I guess I need to call some of them up and ask them for some advice or something, because, I'm used to cooking big pots of spaghetti or big pots of rice, and just 3 people, even though my son could eat all that by himself. But the other interesting thing, my husband and I decided to go to a marriage retreat and leave New England and go to Louisiana. And we were sitting on the plane, everything all worked out. We got our Airbnbs in line, got our our flights all put together. And when we sat down the plane leaving from JFK, because we left our car in the garage so that one of our children didn't have to drive back and get us. This is before my daughter went to Korea. We're sitting on the plane, we're taking a deep breath, and I looked over at my husband. I'm like, we've been married 35 years. I know we went to Jamaica for our honeymoon, but we hadn't been on a plane together traveling like that. And we can't even remember. It must have been just the honeymoon 35 years ago to Jamaica. And it's been a long ride since then, where you go travel and you take your kids and you just drive, you drive everywhere, because we're a family of 6. So that was a new awakening, looking at each other like, wow, So we also vowed to start traveling a lot more. And in the past year, we had been to several different places. This was the first time flying, but we went to a wedding in the Carolinas. We went to, a couple of different functions in New York, and then of course driving my daughter back and forth to DC to school. But so it was a nice trip. We had a lot of fun in New Orleans. If you ever get a chance to go to New Orleans, I hear that right now is the crawfish season, if you like seafood. And oh my goodness, all the seafood, all the food that we ate when we were there. Of course, I'm on a 28-day challenge, so that was a challenge, because everything there is fried, but it really was good. It was good. We had a good time. So we went from New Orleans to the conference, or the retreat was actually in Lafayette. So I'm actually talking on the podcast, but I'm also filming on YouTube. So and I'm not looking at the camera. So my screen's over here. But anyway, so yeah, if you ever get a chance to go into New Orleans, and we landed in New Orleans, and they had a live band playing in the airport, and the acoustics, it was just awesome. I have some pictures. I'm not sure if I haven't learned yet to slide those pictures right into the filming of. Well, this is live, so I'm not sure if I can do that. Maybe I'll have it as the cover picture for YouTube. Um, but yeah, that was really good. The Airbnb was nice. We were able to walk over to a nice restaurant called Dookie Chase, believe it or not. I don't even have any flyer, whatever, from there. Um, so when we first got there, the Uber driver who picked us up said, "Oh, if you're in New Orleans, you must eat at Dookie Chase," which actually the Airbnb just happened to be a couple of blocks from there, so we were able to walk, which was really really cool. But they closed at 3 o'clock, and when you get there, they ask you if you have a reservation. So they're kind of swanky, but the food is really really good. The restaurant was established back in 1941, and what else did I want to say about that? So we didn't get to eat there that day. We walked down the street. He also gave us a second choice, which was Willie Mays. So we left, went back to the room, and we Googled and we found Willie Mays, and that was also within walking distance from the Airbnb. So if you're ever there, I think it's called not New Orleans, but Orleans Street or Avenue, and that's where we stayed. It was a really good, beautiful Airbnb, nice couple. So the food there at Willie Mays, there was also a line. Both these restaurants had lines, and so we ate there. They're really well known for their fried chicken, and of course, we didn't have fried chicken. We just thought, well, fried chicken, we can eat fried chicken anywhere. So next time if we go, we'll have fried chicken. But this time we had a seafood dish type of thing. I think I had some fish, and I don't really remember what my husband had. But after that, they also try and persuade you, which wasn't hard, to not. We weren't gonna get the dessert, but it was breadfruit. It was what, bread pudding. So we just got one piece of bread pudding to share. And then the next morning we got up and we were gonna thinking about brunch, but we ended up getting back to Dookie Chase at about 12 o'clock, 12:30. And by the time we got in there, it was crowded. It was crowded. Very nice. And that was Willie Mays is pretty affordable. And Dookie Chase, you're gonna come out of pocket. Just letting you know, you're gonna come. You better bring all your bag, your whole bag. But the food was worth it. The ambiance was great. I tried a nice little. The drink was lavender lemonade, and that was very very tasty. It was really good. And I had shrimp creole, and my husband had chicken creole, and we shared a bowl of gumbo. Now it's funny because people in New Orleans say that the food is really good in Lafayette. And of course, all around the world, we think, oh, I can't wait to get to New Orleans and try their food. But it was good to us, and we just can't wait. So that was the beginning of like tasting the effect of being an empty nester, and we can't wait to go back again. And of course, we also, all right. So me being a New Englander, I thought, oh, you can catch a train from probably Maine, Boston area, all the way down to New York, and even down to DC. Stopping all along the way. And I did Google information on traveling from New Orleans to Lafayette. And of course, the train schedule came up. So I figured, let me just do like my middle daughter does. You can go the day to the Amtrak and you can buy your ticket the same day. So I figured, okay, well, we're flying into New Orleans, stay there for a couple days, and then we'll take the train into Lafayette. Well, y'all, it didn't work that way. Okay. Just in case you ever want to do that. Excuse me. The train only goes from New Orleans to Lafayette Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. I'm like, what kind of hot mess is that? Like, is that the South for you? I don't know. I'm not trying to talk bad about it, but that's just, if you ever do that, yeah, you can't take the train unless it's Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. And I think that when we were inquiring about the prices and how to get there, what's it called? The train had already left at 9 o'clock in the morning. So again, you'd have to check out of your hotel or your Airbnb early and catch that 9 o'clock Wednesday train if you want to go from New Orleans to Lafayette. But we ended up, I said, okay, honey, this is going to be an adventure. Because we still had to, by this time, we left on Tuesday, the 14th. And we were leaving, let's see, was it Wednesday? No, we left Thursday morning to get to Lafayette. And I said, okay, we got to have to get there because the conference starts at 7 p.m. on Thursday. Yeah, we took the bus. If you can see my face right now on YouTube, we took the bus. Never did that before. Okay. I said, okay, this is going to be fun, you know. But of course, when you leave one certain part of town and you start to drive to the Greyhound area, the neighborhood changes. Okay. And y'all can figure that out on your own. And I'm like, okay, so you kind of like hold on to your purse and your luggage and your stuff, you know. But everybody was pretty friendly, honestly. We got there 8:30. You know, we figure the bus leaves at 9:30. We'll figure this all out when we get there. He actually bought the tickets online. He downloaded it. We're getting really good at that because my kids are like, we're leaving. You all need to start downloading some of these apps. Like, you know, we have the Instacart, you have the DoorDash, you know. Um, yeah, so he downloaded the app and we purchased our tickets. We got there. We're sitting there and I'm like, okay, do. You know, bus is gonna come. Have my book. We're gonna sit there and read. Y'all, of course, I usually say you guys, but because I'm talking about down south stuff, y'all, the bus did not even show up until 12:30 in the afternoon. Okay, and of course, it was like a 2.5 hour bus ride from New Orleans to Lafayette. So I'm like, okay, this is fine. We're not in a rush. We have plenty of time. The conference doesn't start till 7 p.m. Downpour rain. Okay. I'm like, what happened to all the warm weather? Like, it's like we brought the cold weather from New England to New Orleans and into Lafayette with us. So we're about 2 hours away from Lafayette, and my husband checks his phone because, you know, we're real excited about checking into the Airbnb. She tried to cancel on us, y'all. She tried to cancel. I was like, not today. No, no. I told my husband because it was in his name. I said, you need to text her back and tell her that we are coming. We're on our way. We're going to drop off our luggage and we're going to our 7 p.m. meeting. All right. And that's how that went. Um, so, yeah, we did that. And she said that there was some kind of complications with the heat and the water, whatever, and that she could, you know, round up a couple of other places for us to stay. And I'm like, that, no. I already had scoped out, you know, you read all the instructions, all the directions or all the amenities for each Airbnb. And we've stayed at several Airbnbs before and we never had any complications before. So I'm not going to say that's not going to deter us from staying at Airbnbs. But we did end up staying there and she did reimburse us our money. I'm sure she was looking forward to that really good review at the end, which I did give her a good review. So I guess maybe it really was the hot water and the whatever, because we didn't have hot water the first night and we didn't have any heat. But by the next morning, it was turned on. Everything was working fine, and so yeah, she gave us our money back. So that was pretty good, and I did give her a good review. I didn't, you know, didn't lie or anything like that. I just said that it was a really nice, quaint neighborhood, reminded me of New England, and it was within walking distance of really nice restaurants, which it was. So we really did have quite an adventure. And as a couple that's been married 35 years, we cannot wait to do it again. So we're not quite empty nesters. We're like, what, 3/4 of the way there? 3/4 of the way there. But my son is a lot of fun to be around. And before I end this little podcast here, um, we got off the plane at, what is it, Saturday night, going into Sunday morning. So we got home at 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. Got a little bit of sleep, you know, kind of watched my daughter as she packed and did her thing. Left again at midnight Sunday, actually 1 o'clock in the morning, because she really did not, you know, just didn't want to miss out on anything and get there on time to the airport and not get stuck in traffic. Left at 1 o'clock in the morning, got to the airport, did the whole thing, like I said, you know, some crying, some hugging, lots of hugs, lots of pictures. And on the way back to New England, we were involved in a 5-car accident. I said, Lord, what you doing? But I tell you what, grace and mercy. And I'm glad that, you know, we feel fine, just a little bit of aches and pains, whatever. minor things. But we did go to the emergency room to get checked out because we wanted it to be on record, you know. But out of 5 cars, well, 4 cars and 1 tractor trailer, 3 cars were totaled in that accident. And I was able to get back in the car from the ER room and drive back to Connecticut. Well, actually, my husband drove back to Connecticut because my daughter took her car back and she went on ahead of us. But I tell you, it's already been a long New Year's in 2023, but it's been a good experience. And I'm really grateful for it. I mean, my mother used to always say, there's always somebody out there who's doing way worse than you are. And my life is good. I can't complain. So that's bringing you up to speed for January, February of this year. And we're about to go into March. And I just wanted to get that out there and, let you know that, this is all new. Being a partial empty nester and learning how to cook less. And now we're, you know, decluttering and getting rid of things and learning to throw things away. Now that my daughter has all her stuff in her apartment and the middle daughter's, in Korea, and everybody says, when is she coming back? I'm like, ever, never, never, never. Her contract there is for 1 year, but yeah, she's really committed to staying there. And I'm sure that I believe my third daughter will probably follow her out there. And we can't wait to go visit and, take our son with us. So, but that's all that I have for now. Just want to, if you're an empty nester and you have some tips for me, by all means, I'm sure it's going to take some adjustment for me. And I feel like, woohoo. At first you feel like, ooh, you have all this time. But today I was walking around the house and I'm like, I'm actually by myself. I can always find something to do, I'm sure. It'll just take a little while to get used to it. But yeah, you have any tips for me, let me know. You can leave a comment for me over at 20 Nubian Queen 2020 or over at my website, nubianqueennation.com. Yes. And again, this is Nubia of Nubian Queen Nation Podcast. And thank you for being with me today. That's all she wrote. All right. Come back and visit us and go back and take a look at some of the older podcasts that I have that are on Spotify and wherever you can find a podcast. I'm probably out there. All righty. Peace and blessings for now. And thank you for tuning in. All right. Until next time. Bye-bye. Ciao.